me, and she's just my type.
She's crafty.
Hello everyone, it's Amber again, and I'm here talking about the Fiskars fuse again. Today I want to talk about die cutting and letter pressing. The Fiskars fuse makes it really easy to die cut and letter press in just one pass through the machine. Before I show you the technique for getting that to happen, I'm going to talk a little bit about the dies that come with the machine. Each die will come packaged with an orange lid and then a base. Inside of each lid are pins that poke up from the base that coordinate with holes that are on the bottom of each base. This makes it really easy to know which base cover combination go together. To use the die, you'll place the base inside of the cover, and those pins will pop up the letterpress plate. The reason for this is because once you want to place ink onto the letterpress plate, it's much easier to do it with the letterpress plate raised slightly from the die. Before we get started talking about the actual letter pressing and die cutting, I want to talk a little bit about ink. You have lots of choices with ink, but honestly my suggestion is that you stick with pigment ink rather than dye. On this example you'll see I've used dye ink, and because it's water-based, it doesn't really give a smooth finish. You kind of can see some blotchiness in the design, and it doesn't give the polished look that I would like to have at the end. On this example, I used pigment ink, and while the example isn't as vibrant in color, it does have a smooth finish throughout, which I really like for a polished, finished product. When choosing the ink that you'll use, I prefer to use pigment ink by Impress Fresh Ink. You can use any type you want, but you don't want to use anything that's too juicy or overly inked, because then you're going to get too much ink on the letterpress plate and your results will be messy. So let's get started and make something. All right, I'm excited to get started making something finally. So now we're going to letterpress and die cut together. First, you want to get your equipment out and place the die inside of the cover. Now the plate has been raised slightly by those pins in the cover, and this is a great way to ink your plate because you're not going to get any ink on the surrounding area. I'm using Impress Fresh ink, and I'm just dabbing very lightly across the entire plate. You want to get the thinnest application of ink possible. You do not need a lot, otherwise you won't have crisp edges on your finished product. I've applied the thinnest possible layer of pigment ink to my letterpress plate, and now that I've done that, I'm going to lift the plate out of the cover, and the letterpress plate will drop down into place. From here, you'll just place your cardstock or whatever paper it is that you're using on top, and then cover it with your cutting plate. I'm going to now push it through my machine, and I like to do it at an angle with the corner facing in. It seems to catch a little more quickly that way. You'll take your plate off, and your letter pressing is done. I think it looks so good, and I love how easy it is to do. One tip I do have for you is to keep some wet wipes on hand to clean off your plate as soon as you're done. That way you'll keep them ready and clean for your next ink application. Also, one thing I love about these plates is they're not very porous, so the ink does not stain it, and you're able to clean it off very easily. These plates don't crack. I've probably run this particular plate through like 50, maybe 100 times, and it's just like it was when I first got it. So I really like that. That's a complaint I've heard about other letter pressing machines, is the longevity of the plates, and these I think will last a long time. Now of course I'm not just going to show you how to die cut and letter press one shape. I've got a lot of ideas for how you can use this machine, so I think you should come join me over at damaskglove.com and search for Fiskars Fuse. There are some really fun projects over there, and I don't think you want to miss them. I'll see you soon. Bye.